we're gonna get right into it. Today we're learning legal terms with the letter C. We're going to start with court. How do you think court might be interpreted? This is a trick question. While you ponder this, we're gonna start with this lip, what do they call this? A glowy tint. It's by the brand Ink Mood Glowy Tint. It says Peripera. Not sure which one is the brand, what's the description, but it's a Korean brand. I really like the product. I got it with my younger sister when I was back in Southern California last year. All right, this is what I have on with the lip so far. And court is interpreted a few different ways depending on context. So court, if it's referring to a courthouse, is tribunal. So let's say you are cited to appear in the California Superior Court. That would be el Tribunal Superior de California. If it is in reference to a specific courtroom, then it's juzgado. If it's referring to a courtroom, juzgado. And if it's court, if it is being used as an adjective, for example, a court order or a court interpreter, then it is interpreted as judicial. Court order, orden judicial. Court interpreter, intérprete judicial. And we have one more way of interpreting the court, and the court may assess a $200 fine. While we think about that, I'm going to start applying foundation, e.l.f. Hydrating Camo CC Cream. In that context, the court would be el juez. I'm gonna spread out my foundation or CC cream. I just call it a foundation because it has enough coverage. It's practically a foundation. And so in that example, the court may assess a $200 fine. The interpretation would be el juez puede imponerle una multa de $200. I'm going to move on to concealer and our next word, criminal. Criminal, for interpreters in a courtroom, we're not going to say criminal, we're going to say delincuente. So criminal, delincuente. If somebody says, this man is a criminal, este hombre es un delincuente. And the reason is criminal is more special circumstance if it's a more serious case. But for smaller infractions, you wouldn't say criminal, you would, and so just to capture everything, just use delincuente. And same for crime, don't interpret it as crimen, use delito. I'm going to move on with my blush. It's a cool toned purple, which I think will go well with the cool toned lip. And I saw a video of somebody placing the blush in a very interesting position. Usually I go here and I blend upward to elongate my face, but they placed it down here, and I guess it kind of gave the illusion of a shadow, but with color. I don't know, something different. We're gonna try that. Next, the term is case. And you can, there's two ways of saying case, but in the exam, both are going to be correct. I am going to give you the difference between both just so you know what it is. All right, so case, if there is no judge present, then it is, you can say, then it's caso. But if there is a judge present, then you say causa. And just to be the very best interpreters we can possibly be, we're gonna mind the distinction. So if you're, in trial and a judge is there presiding, you are going to say this causa because the judge is present. If it's just a meeting between attorneys and the case is being discussed, caso. But in the exam, you can say either. They're not going to penalize you, but just so you know. Next, I'm going to move on to bronzer, just to sculpt and bring definition back on the sides of my face. And then I'll see if I want to add more blush too. These next terms deal with children, so and again, this is criminal court, so just I think trigger. Next term is child abuse, and child abuse also has two different ways of interpreting it. If it is physical child abuse, maltrato de un menor. I'm getting a pretty thick brush, just jumping between two bronzers. So physical child abuse, maltrato de un menor. If it is sexual child abuse, abuso de un menor. So child abuse, literally abuso de un menor, but if you just say abuso de un menor, then it's sexual. It has sexual connotations. So if a parent is beating their child, maltrato de un menor, if you interpret it as abuso de un menor, it's carrying sexual connotations. If you're just walking into the courtroom and you aren't giving any background, you're just there and it's not clear yet the type that they're discussing, maltrato de un menor. And then later on, if it turns out that there are sexual charges associated with it, abuso de un menor, but maltrato de un menor would encompass both. And the next term, first, let's assess the situation. I do think the blush was nice here, but I think I do want something over here. And where'd that go? Next term, child molestation. Abuso deshonestos. And it's kind of a modest way of saying, so child molestation, abuso deshonesto. All right, okay. I'm glad I saw the video and tried the placement here, but I do just like having blush right here as well. I'm not gonna elongate as much as I usually do, or focus blush here just because I did go down, but it's so light you can't really tell too much, I think. All right. So we're gonna just go over the child ones just once more, make sure we got them. Child abuse, physical, maltrato de un menor. Child abuse sexual, abuso de un menor. Child molestation, abuso deshonestos. All right, and then as we move on to the next term, carjacking, we're gonna move on to our next step. I'm going to set everything in place. I'm done with most of my creams. And I have the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Mattifying Powder. Carjacking is robo violento de un automóvil. Carjacking, robo violento de un automóvil. And you might wonder, wow, that's a really long way of saying carjacking. And it's because it doesn't have a literal interpretation. Carjacking as a charge, it's not something that exists in Latin American or Spanish or Spain. It just doesn't. And so when a term like that doesn't exist, the way to interpret it is kind of just the explanation of it. So carjacking, robo violento de un automóvil, a violent robbery of a car. All right, now that the skin is all powdered, I do want to go in with powder blush, and I'm going to focus it right over here. Once more as a reminder, carjacking, robo violento de un automóvil. Next, we're moving on to the term complaint. In Spanish, acusación formal. Complaint, acusación formal. If you see complaint, information, or indictment, and if you hear information or indictment 1, 2, 3, same as saying complaint 1, 2, 3, acusación formal 1, 2, 3. All right, now that I have the blush placement, I'm going to go back to the brush that I used for my powder and just blend the edges. So once more, complaint, acusación formal. Complaint, acusación formal. I'm going to do my brows. I'm going to fill in my brows with the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Tint Pen. I usually don't only use a brow pen, but it's the only thing I have near me and I don't feel like getting something else. I'm just gonna fast forward through this. Here's one brow done and this one not done. And I don't go too heavy with it, but I like what it's doing. Let's fill in the next one. As they say, very demure, very mindful. Next, we have the ColourPop Flexitarian Super Shock cheek shadow. I'm going to apply this in the inner corner of my eyes and introduce the next term, to charge. So if someone is charged with a crime, you can say acusar o imputar. Acusar o imputar. In the example, the defendant was charged in complaint number 123 in order to not say acusación formal and then acusar right next to them. That's why you might want to choose imputar. So the interpretation of the defendant was charged in complaint number 123 with child molestation. That would be el acusado fue imputado en la acusación formal número 123 de abusos deshonestos. Did you get that? And if not, I'm gonna have a short with just the terms and then practice the terms and then give it a few days, watch the video again and see if you remembered them. All right, so the final step is I'm just gonna curl my eyelashes, bring down the hair, and we're just gonna go over all that we learned today. Thank you. All right, guys, let's go through everything that we learned today. Court. If it's a courthouse, tribunal. If it's a courtroom, juzgado. If it's being used as an adjective, like a court order or a court interpreter, judicial. So, orden judicial, intérprete judicial. The court, el juez, criminal, delincuente, crime, delito. Case. If there is no judge, caso. If there is a judge present, causa. But remember, both are okay in the test. Child abuse. Physical, maltrato de un menor. Sexual, abuso de un menor. Child molestation, abuso deshonesto. Carjacking, robo violento de un automóvil. Complaint, acusación formal. To charge, acusar o imputar. Thank you so much for joining with me and for studying with me. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you. Bye-bye.